Today being May the 4th, 2023, we are hearing case number MI 2023-002317. Well, everybody that will be providing testimony today, please raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, so help you God?
I do. Again.
Thank you. And would you, the three of you, please identify yourself for the record?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Sean Ward. That's S-H-A-W-N, last name Ward, W-A-R-D, attorney at law here on behalf of the applicant, appellant, property owner, Agim Bagrami, B-A-G-R-A-M-I, commonly referred to as Gino.
And I'm John Higgins, H-I-G-G-I-N-S, and I am the consultant to this project.
Agim, if you could identify yourself and spell
Yes.
your name for the record, please.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. This is Agim Badrami. I'm owner of a property of 6931 Van Dyke Street.
Gentlemen, thank you. What I would like to do is explain a little bit about the way we're going to proceed this morning so everybody understands. We are going to allow you folks as much time as you need to explain the nature of your appeal and any testimony that might be relevant. We will then go back and there will be questions and cross-examinations from each board member. What I will do is call on each board member individually. They will ask you questions. Upon your answer, at the end of the question and answers, you will also be afforded time if you have anything you'd like to add, any closing statements or anything like that. At that time, you will be placed into a waiting room. The board will deliberate. After deliberations have ended, we will bring you back in and we will proceed to vote on record. Everybody understand? Do you guys understand our procedure?
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I fully understand, and we'll proceed accordingly.
Fantastic, fantastic. Board members, prior to today, has any board member discussed any information in whole or in part with the appellate or anyone directly or indirectly involved with this case? Mike Bellata,
No.
Dave Hoffmeister,
No.
Mike Ingram,
No.
Brian Gilbert,
No.
Patrick McDonald,
No.
Sarah Poindexter.
No.
Thank you. And outside of staff, the chair has had no communication with any of the appellates or the appellate's team. With that, Mr. Ward, if you would like to proceed, if you would be kind enough to outline your request, the nature of your request. And just to let you know, the board has all of the information that you sent, and that includes the drawings. It also includes the denial and your appeal request, and we also do have the zoning information. So if that helps you at all.
All right, Mr. Chair, thank you. I did prepare a PDF for screen share. Hopefully that would make the proceeding go quicker. I do anticipate John Higgins running with the football for most of this, but John will identify which page he wants me to go to. He's reviewed my packet. And in addition to the packet, late to the party or the dance is the utility plan reviewed by the water department with their notes inserted in red on the plan. I did not have that at the time I prepared the packet. So without further ado, with the board's permission, I'll share my screen.
Please.
All right, just to confirm, my screen is shared.
Yep, we can see it. Thank you.
Awesome, very good. Again, I'm Sean Ward. I represent Agim Gino Bagrami. He is the owner and applicant and appellant in this matter regarding 6931 Van Dyke Street. My exhibit packet for the Plumbing Advisory Board includes A1 is the application of appeal. A2 is the LNI notice of refusal. A3 is the proof of ownership. A4, the site elevation and floor plans submitted to the zoning board. A5 is the zoning permit, along with the notice of decision, the original refusal, and the RCO Tacony Civic Association's letter of support. A6 is the approved zoning site and elevation plan. A7 are photographs of the property for the board's information and view. A8 is the water department email confirmation that there is no water or sewer service on this block. Again, late to the dance is the actual plan. I did not have that at the time I made this, but I do have it on shareable screen. And then A9 is the zoning map and A10 is an aerial photograph. So very quickly, we have our application. We have the LNI refusal regarding this application. One is for the plumbing fixtures in the property, and the other is for basically stormwater, storm drainage. We have the plans that were submitted. As you can see, this is basically a one-story garage with an interior mezzanine. It is proposed for the storage of contractors, equipment, and materials, and that is it. There basically be no human occupancy. We're not looking really to have an office here. We're not looking to do anything other than store materials and vehicles at this site. Again, just moving through the plans, copy of the deed just to show that he has standing to be here. He is the applicant owner. The notice of decision from the zoning board granting the variance to construct this building. That was the original refusal. We sought relief for the minimum open area, the minimum front setback, and the minimum rear yard depth. I would just point out to the board that the building was shifted back from the frontage sidewalk to accommodate at least a 10-foot setback as requested by Tacony Civic. They weren't as much concerned about the rear yard as they were having this building fronting right up to the sidewalk. So we accommodated that request, and that was made part of the decision by the zoning board. And there were some other variances for parking, density in a residential district, and whatnot. Having said that, Tacony was not opposed to the application subject to those conditions. This is the approved zoning plan. Again, we agreed with Tacony to provide red brick, which is common to the Tacony area. Probably starting with the Diston estate back there, back in the day. Here's a picture of the subject lot. It is a vacant lot. It's the only vacant lot or the only lot that actually it only fronts on Van Dyke Street. Every other property on the block fronts on another adjoining street. Again, going with the red brick theme, just to point that out. And these photos were designed for the zoning board to show similar curb cuts and garage door access to the block, which was beneficial in our case, obviously. Here is an aerial photograph. As you can see, the property. Hold on a second. Let me get my hand. There you go. This property fronts on Diston Street. On
Longshore.
Longshore, right? This property's, they front on Diston, as do this property, and this property here also fronts on Longshore. This lot is the only one that fronts on Van Dyke Street. This is the zoning map. Our property was, is zoned RSA 3. The properties, fronting on Longshore are CMX 2, and those fronting on Diston are also residential. This was Tacony's letter of support. This is the email from the water department confirming that according to their records, there seems to be no sewer or water line under the property in question. If you have any questions, please contact us. Attached to that email was this image. While not a utility plan, clearly shows that, that there, is an easement of some sort running up and down Van Dyke Street. But again, we are the only property that actually front on Van Dyke Street. Everybody else fronts on another street, which could explain why there is no sewer or water, lines running up and down this block. So with that, I'll turn it over to John Higgins. John, I'll keep my screen up. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Let me, this was the, I'm sorry, the utility plan. I did share this with Phil this morning, and Ron Araghi, our representative from Here's the Plan, shared that at 1:51 a.m. because he's in Europe to Phil. I don't know if Phil received it, but
Yes, we have it.
okay. And it also includes, I believe, some, inserted in red are the comments from the water department confirming that despite showing on a plan, let me get my hand tool again. Despite that showing on a plan, there are, active water mains and whatnot. There is no record of either existing, the sewer or the water main. So again, with that, I'll turn it over to John Higgins. John, you just let me know what page in my packet you want me to go to, or do you want me to stay on this plan? I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, I think his plan is a good starting point.
Okay.
And, well, good morning to all. The situation we have is it's being the only parcel that fronts on Van Dyke Street, and no record of a sewer or water mains leaves us in a tough position. We're actually hoping as the Plumbing Advisory Board to tap into, okay, we have a couple of ideas, but to see if they would be acceptable to meet the spirit and intent of managing the stormwater and the sanitary water from this facility. The closest existing or known existing sewer would be in Longshore Street, which at a distance of approximately 196 feet, or a distance of 164 feet to Distance Street. The owners, obviously, if he were opting to provide a sewer, it would have to be built to obviously the water department requirements, and at a cost that it's prohibitive given the distances involved. What we were hoping to propose, or as an acceptable proposal, is if we could manage the stormwater on site by use of an engineered detention system, and to provide a holding tank to manage any sanitary water that would be generated from the property. The water to the water closet and lavatory would be provided through the stormwater retention system design, and the sanitary would be then held in the holding tank with the obvious monitoring to notify when those tanks when that tank would need to be evacuated.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could jump in here at Sean Ward, considering this is a vacant lot, that makes those two options quite, obvious and reasonable under the circumstances we would submit, because, it is a vacant lot, and excavation for those two items or systems could be easily accommodated.
Then as far as providing potable water to the facility, that we would propose be done through a electric water cooler with a water delivery service to address having some available potable water at the site. So that's pretty much the option that we would like to present and seek your advice and or approval or denial of this proposal.
And again, Mr. Chair, Sean Ward, considering this is the Plumbing Advisory Board, emphasis on advisory. We're not necessarily looking for a final decision today. I mean, it would be great if one could be rendered, but if the board is of the mind to provide advisory to us as to that request, we could certainly come back with, more designed, plans or proposals for your consideration.
All right, Mr. Ward, does that conclude your testimony for right now?
Yeah, at this point, yeah. Do you want me to stop screen share or leave it up?
No, I would like to leave that there for a moment. So
Very good. All right.
Thank you for your proposal. First, what I would ask you to do, the proposal package that we're sharing screen, if you could make sure that Phil has that so that we can include it into the case file, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, all three exhibits that were put up, my packet, the U1 plan and the Water Department commented plan have been provided to Phil and Deb this morning. If they did not receive it, I will certainly resend it.
Okay, I just want to make sure that your information packet gets into the case file.
Of course.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to proceed with questions from the board. I will begin. You've answered a lot of the questions that I previously had. So let's start with the office. The drawings initially showed that you're proposing to put an office in there. And under the first part of your testimony, you said now that you were not going to propose to having an office in there?
The office would have been for just storage of some records. It would not be occupied by a secretary or an administrator. It would be for the owner. It would be for the owner's personal use, just for, basically record keeping, but it would not be, it's not a business or administrative office in the normal sense of the term.
Okay, thank you. And you mentioned that to appease the Civics Association, you agreed to a 10-foot setback. That 10-foot setback that you referred to, is that front, back, or side of the building?
Looking at the screen share, where my hand cursor is, the original design had the building more or less out towards the sidewalk. And there was a rear yard to comply with the rear yard requirement. But in order to keep the square footage of the building, Tacony Civic requested that we slide the building back, and they said, the rear yard would be landlocked anyway and would not be usable for any other purpose other than the accumulation of trash and weeds and whatnot. And they said they'd much rather see the building set back off the sidewalk 10 feet, eliminate the rear yard, provided we did a brick front facing Van Dyke, and I guess the northern face of the building would be a brick facade. And I believe on this side, since we're going to attach to the adjoining building, there was a small portion towards the front, which would be visible from Longshore, or, coming from Longshore. And we agreed that, so all exposed exterior walls, front and sides, not necessarily the rear, would be red brick.
Okay. In your appeal, you mentioned that you state a cost of that would be in excess of $65,000 in order to run the services to a gravitational point of connection. Could you share with the board how you came up with that and where you propose to tie in for that proposed, $65,000?
I would defer to Mr. Higgins or Mr. Bagrami on that question. That's above my pay grade.
I would defer that to the owner because I don't know the nature of that proposal or would put that number.
All right, well, yeah, let's break it down into two parts. One is the cost and the second would be the connection. John, you're based on your information, where would we connect either or both water and sewer?
Looking at the elevations of the property, by the most advantageous one to utilize gravity would be Longshore Avenue.
Okay, and Gino, where did we come up? I understand you and Ron Arighy, Arighy, had discussions regarding the cost
Yeah,
of
well,
installing this. So where did that number come from for the,
yeah,
to answer the chairman's question?
yeah, I called two plumbers over, and one came over and one looked at the map actually, and both came to the same number. So the highest bid there was $65,000 from Fairco Plumbing, a company who is local around in the city.
Okay,
So unfortunately, it's, to me, it's a lot of money. So I don't think, because it's only, I don't think it's working to pay that kind of money for a storage area like we're looking for on it.
understood.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bergami. That does answer my question regarding that. So the last thing that I would like to point out is you mentioned the other options, and that was to reclaim the stormwater, to flush the toilet, put in a retention tank, a sanitary holding tank. I'm not quite sure, but I have to assume that you didn't do a cost study to do all of them versus the gravitational tie-in. Because I would say, just as a discussion point, as a professional in the plumbing industry, if you look at all them proposals versus the gravitational tie-in of possibly $65,000, that cost for the other systems you're describing could be extremely close, if not more than that initial 65,000. So that's what I wanted to point out. And I just wanted the record to show that the alternative systems that you described, you did not propose them to the department, correct? This is just they brought forward today.
The factory we just cleaned out.
Okay.
Correct.
And that's fine. That's perfect. And one more, and I appreciate your time. Could you go back to the photographs in your package, please?
Sure.
If you can keep going with the photographs, you should keep going. Right there.
Wait,
Yep. So that, and there was also that one, and there's another warehouse, I believe, shown in your photographic package. Keep going. That one.
this one, Mr. Chair, and this one are the same property. This,
Oh,
this is the front of it on Longshore, and this is the side of it, which is on Van Dyke.
thank you very much for that clarification. So
Yeah, so
now-
this tan building here is, in fact, this building here.
I actually worked in that building. They are one and the same. I worked in there when I was right out of high school.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. So, Mr. Ward, would you have and this is a tough question, and I suspect you're not gonna have the answer. That building, do you know if that has sanitary services and plumbing fixtures in it, and where they would be connected to?
I don't know definitively. However, I would assume whatever service is provided to this property is coming from Longshore.
All right, I will ask Mr. Gilbert he has some knowledge of that building. Mr. Gilbert, do you know where they would be tied into?
Yes, there is a bathroom and an office space located on the Longshore Street side. If you see, this building is oddly shaped. It looks like it was two buildings at one point. The larger area is a warehouse. There is no plumbing in there. There is some rainwater. Believe it or not, there may be an on-site retention basin. There's manholes in the building. I never got into one when I worked there. If you go to the middle, I'm going to call it the middle of the square building, that is where there is a bathroom located. Yeah, right where the hand is. There's a bathroom located there. There's another bathroom located in the front towards Van Dyke. There's a crawl space. I'm sorry, towards Longshore. There's a crawl space where all the utilities do go out to Longshore in that property.
Thanks, Brian. We appreciate that clarification. All right, that does conclude my questions, and I appreciate you indulging me with all the questions. What I'm going to do now is proceed to call on individual board members for any follow-up questions. Mike Bellata.
I have one or two. So this is just storage of vehicles, correct? Vehicles, construction equipment, etc.
Mr. Ward, you're on mute if you're responding.
Sorry. Yeah, it's designed for the storage. Gino has a contracting business. He does a lot of work down in that area, and he's looking to have a facility to store materials, equipment, tools, and several vehicles.
So with the vehicles,
Pickup
yeah,
trucks and
I gotcha. Yep, understood. So no servicing, repairs. Obviously, you're not going to wash them if you don't have water. Nothing
No.
of that nature.
no.
Okay. That was all I had, Walt.
Thank you, Mike. Mike Ingram.
Yeah, any sprinkling required?
No, the building footprint is only about 2,000 square feet. A sprinkler, it would not be required for that occupancy or proposed occupancy.
Okay. No further questions?
Thanks, Mike. Brian Gilbert.
Yeah, I'll have a couple questions here. So the plan is to store vehicles. Where is the business front? Where would that be a starting point in the morning where men would meet up and get in the trucks, and an end point of the day where they would leave, collect their belongings, wash up, maybe change? Or is there that literally just, we're going to peep material here and we have another business front where we run the business out of, where the men meet in the morning?
I'll defer to Gino. Gino, can you address that for us, please?
Absolutely. So what happened? Will not be every day on the morning meeting there. So we may go there twice a week just to pick up a scaffold and boards for the job as necessary. Sometimes our trucks are parked on a home. We take the trucks home most of the time. On the weekends, we park them inside in the garage. Doing the 5 days a week, we take them home. I drive one and another guy drive another one. So pretty much we're looking to go there twice or maybe 3 times a week in between, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. just to switch, probably get materials, get the tools from there, go back to work, bring the material back next 2-3 days, It's not like we're gonna meet there every day, 2-3 guys every morning and every afternoon.
Okay, now you propose to put a bathroom on site, but your proposal is to use recycled rainwater. Now, for the flushing of the water closet, that's fine, but as the definition of potable water, and you need potable water for Labby for human consumption for hand washing,
Correct.
are you proposing to bring the rainwater up to the standards of potability? I mean, that could get quite expensive, as Walt stated earlier.
We'll defer to Mr. Higgins on that.
Okay, yes, but just to clarify, you're saying that the water available at the lavatory would have to be from a potable source?
You're gonna wash up with it, and people are going to naturally wash their face, wash their hands, potentially drink from it. Even, I mean, if you have a non-potable sign, but you are required to have potable water at a lavatory.
Okay, I understood. I understand your point. We'd have to reconsider that. The only viable water source we have there is going to be that rainwater, and I guess the electric water cooler is not going to satisfy a potable source for a lavatory.
Oh, certainly not a,
no,
no.
I understand
no.
your point.
Now I have one more tension. You're proposing an on-site sewage retainage tank and an on-site rainwater tank, correct?
Correct.
And you're gonna have a monitoring system for both, I'm assuming, in a contract with a company to pump them out.
Correct.
And what would you propose in the case of your tank is full, your rainwater tank?
Well,
there's a storm.
our proposal would be that there was in what you would typically see in I guess a septic system, there would be a high water alarm device into the retention tanks. We would utilize that, but probably to be prudent for us to not for the high water, but for maybe 3/4 full point, so that we have some time to arrange for the tank to be evacuated.
Yeah, but John, on the stormwater, it's my understanding there's systems that where, the water in that, the stormwater in that tank could drain slowly or at a controlled rate.
Through a leaching
Into-
field or a weir type box?
Yeah.
Is that what you're proposing?
Yeah, so, I guess in the 100-year flood or, the 100-year storm or 500-year storm, which we have more often now, but, absent those, the water would drain slowly at a controlled rate into the ground. And in the event that, the tank is ready to, cap out or overflow, we could certainly have it pumped out.
I mean, I would defer to an engineer to see, I don't know, I'm a plumber, but is it prudent to leach rainwater to near that close to a foundation? And that ends my questioning.
Yeah. Well,
Again,
do
that would be an engineer's, job.
Yeah, we do understand that whole detention and retention would have to be professionally designed by the proper engineer, and to do the calculations for what the anticipated rain load and what volumes we're looking at, and
Yeah,
what the leach rate may be.
Yeah,
Given the soil.
certainly, we understand the concern that, we don't want all that stormwater, from the roof, gutter systems and downspouts, flowing out onto Van Dyke Street and creating a problem there. So,
That's kind of where I was going.
yeah, and
Thank
Brian, John and I were talking this morning, and I said, we heard that Ben Franklin looked at this lot years ago, and because of these issues, he decided not to build on it, right?
It is a very old area of the city, and I do distinctly remember there are manholes in the garage next door to you, and there may be some other engineered system that they did, and I would guess that building is early 1900s.
Yeah, Brian, and I
it's
agree with
gone.
you. I think that warehouse, right here where the vehicle is parked, was not attached. It looks like this was an infill.
I believe it started off life as a house. on Long
Oh,
Shore.
yeah, yeah, this is definitely a house, right?
Well, that's a separate property. The three, well, the pitched roof of the warehouse and the two flat gray roofs are all one building, but I'm sure they were all built separate times.
Yeah.
And the front one was a house at one point. A house or a storefront.
Yeah, I'm sure, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Mr. Ward, you could suspend your shared screen unless another board member requests it. We can just go back on full screen. Fantastic, thank you.
I can always bring it back up.
Thanks. Sarah Poindexter.
Thanks, Walt. Yeah, I have a couple questions. Based on the application submitted, it was my understanding that this request was to not have utility services, water, sewer, or storm to the building, and that was the variance request. And I'm wondering if that is still the request and that these other systems that you're discussing are in the case that the request is denied. Or are these systems now what you are wanting to do in order to have a bathroom?
Sarah, that's a very great question. John and I were discussing this with Gino. And I suggested that we have alternatives as opposed to just a blanket variance request.
Are the alternatives because you want to have the restroom, or are the alternatives in order to be able to build the structure? I'm wondering what your preference is as far as no services or to have these systems.
Yeah, I mean, honest to God, if we didn't have to put a restroom in there, that would be, perfect. If we didn't have to do anything with stormwater, that would be perfect. However, I live in reality. I'm a land use attorney, and I said we better be prepared to discuss an alternative specifically with regard to stormwater. If there is no powder room or bathroom or lavatory, then that's a non-issue. We don't have to worry about storing septic, because nobody's going to be going to the bathroom there. The materials are there, they're picking them up and they're leaving. But rain comes, rain hits that roof, it's going to hit the downspouts, and it's got to go somewhere. So I said we need to have an alternative. So
okay. And I'm assuming
as a hybrid, I would say, we would like to not have to put a lavatory in because there's no human occupancy going to be in there. And number two, if required, or if it's the board's opinion or advice, this is an advisory board. If it's the board's advice that we provide some sort of stormwater management from this site, then that was an alternative that we were putting forth today for your consideration and advice.
Got it. And I'm not sure if the design has happened yet, but I'm assuming there would be one storm leader from this building collecting all the roof water.
Hasn't been designed yet, to my knowledge. No building plans are complete. So.
Okay, great. Thanks. So that concludes my questions, Walt. Thanks.
Thanks, Sarah.
Mr. Ward, I do have a question to refine the answer for Brian Gilbert's question. Is there, or what is the registered business address for Mr. Begami's business?
Gino, what's the registered address of your, where do you operate from?
From my residence now, 11614 Proctor Place, Philadelphia, PA 19116.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ward. Up next will be Patrick McDonald.
Yes, hi, thanks, Walt. I want to start with the design of the building based on what Sarah just said with the roof line. Is this a flat roof or a pitched roof?
Looks like a pitched roof.
Yeah, it is. What it is, it's a bar joist supported deck, roof deck, with basically a slope to accommodate the water drainage or rainwater drainage off the building.
And does this particular design show the exit of the gutter system?
No, it does not.
with the pitch.
I don't believe these plans show. Um,
No, no.
yeah, no.
Okay, so that could be decided at a later date. How much pervious ground is currently in this property? Is this going, the building site going to take over from street to back property line and from property sides to property sides
The,
with concrete?
okay, the lot dimension is 2,826 square feet. The proposed building is 2,244 square feet. The
So
only, and
600.
even the front, the open area at the front would consist of about 528 square feet. But obviously that's gonna
Concrete.
take in the aprons for the vehicles into the building and concrete,
Mhm.
so our pervious surface is virtually zero.
So zero pervious space on the property after the building is in there.
Right.
Where do you propose, and I know this might be premature because this has been an added conversation for the board. Where do you propose the tanks? Are they above ground or below ground?
They would be below. Ground.
For everything is below ground, including the rainwater.
Correct.
Okay, and do you have a location idea of where these would be?
No.
Inside the building or outside the front apron?
We would have to defer. We realized if our proposal is acceptable, we would have to get that engineer. So I honestly cannot say with any sort of certainty. My impression would be within the building.
Within the building, okay. Something that came up for me in this conversation is, why must we consider the office, if it's just storage of records, an actual office? And then the question that I would have would be to Shane, if there was no office in there and this was specifically a garage for storage, would there be a requirement for a powder room, a water closet with a
Patrick,
lavatory?
I can answer that. I'm looking that up right now. I was thinking the same thing, so give me a minute, all right?
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
For the record, guys, and ladies, we don't need an office. This is.
Yeah, sure.
The intention is for storage. He needs someplace to store his tools, equipment, and materials.
If you
Yeah,
could-
I want to get the language from L&I that would be, and Walt, are you answering that question right now?
No, if you could bring up A2 for Patrick, it does show the roof drainage that he was questioning. So if you-
There's also some vertical leaders shown.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense that there would be more than one drainage, like as Sarah specified or questioned. And I guess for me, it really doesn't matter. And as far as I'm concerned, that with the answer that Bob is providing and hopefully will provide, I'm more interested in seeing how the drainage, we talked a little bit about the stormwater holding tank and how that would drain slowly, but how that could have an overflow instead of a sensor. The sensor could tell you how full it is, of course, but an overflow is, and everything I've ever done is required on any kind of water holding tanks. And it normally goes into the sanitary sewer. In this request, it would be going back into pervious ground. And I guess that would have to be an approval from not only us, but the water department.
Patrick, to answer your
Yes.
question, in chapter 4, we go to storage, structures for storage of goods, warehousing, storehouses, freight, and that's what's probably there. If they propose this building be used for, you need 1 per 100 for water closets, male, female, laboratories. So it is required, okay? And it goes
It is
even
required.
further that you need a service sink and a drinking fountain. So it is required. So they would need a variance.
And that,
Okay.
that's this request, right?
I guess I'm gonna I'm gonna end this. All right.
Well, Sarah, to
Okay.
your point, we're here seeking an advisory on relief. So if it's not a blanket, it's not. It's not one request in our eyes. We're here before the advisory board seeking your advice on what kind of relief we might be entitled to or be granted. So.
Yeah, we understand that. We understand that. And,
Okay.
and what I'm trying to do with my questioning is get to the bottom of what the law is requiring and what it requires compared to the hardship that is being presented here with this particular property. So, okay, so it's a no pervious ground on the property with the current design, and a bathroom is required. Also, as Bob just specified, a sink for cleaning and a water fountain. That's the current code. And I could see, and I did see, Walt, thank you, where the water is proposed, but again, that could be manipulated within the plan prior to construction. That I have no further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Patrick.
Patrick. David Hoffmeister,
I have no questions.
thank you. Michelle Brisbane,
Well, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
thank you. Bill Dobbins,
No, no questions.
okay, thank you. Bob Gledhill,
No questions.
thank you. And Shane had to jump off of the call, unfortunately, so he will not be cross-examined. All right.
Mr. Chairman, can I have a follow-up? It would actually be for Bill Dobbins.
Is it, Brian, let me ask you, would it be appropriate to ask him now or during deliberations?
We can ask during deliberations if you'd like and bring it in if it's appropriate after.
Okay. All right, the appellate team, does anyone have any additional comments, more comments, final comments?
No, other than, I believe we've presented everything we have. And again, we looked at this board as an advisory board, and, it's not like the zoning board or the Board of Building Standards where we're, looking for a yes or no on a variance request. We're looking for, we're seeking your advice. We've put forth some, various options. And we hope you point us in the right direction. So.
All right, follow-up questions from the board. Dave Hoffmeister?
I saw there was a letter from the neighborhood association of some sort.
Yeah.
Do we have that letter, Walt? I did not see it in our package.
It is in the packet. Let me share it again.
It's in the zoning package that was sent out, but.
Yeah, I'll tell you what page in the packet it is. Just bear with me 1 second.
Okay, as long as we have a copy, I just wanted to read.
That would be at page 27.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Board members, any follow-ups from the board?
No, nothing here.
All right, hearing none, what we're going to do now is, Mr. Kelly, we are now off record. All right, Mr. Kelly, could you please show us back on record, sir?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you.
I'm
Gentlemen,
sorry, Walt, I'm sorry, Mr. Badrami has not connected the audio yet. It's still connecting. There you go. It's connected now, sir.
all right, thank you.
Very good.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your patience. As you can understand, we considered your hardship. We considered a lot of different factors. I wanted to let you know, Mr. Ward, that our advisory capacity is, Mr. Ward still on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry. There you go. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I want to clarify with you and your team one thing, that this board's advisory capacity is to the department. It's not necessarily to the applicant or the appellate.
Understood.
So we wanted to clarify that with you. We just didn't want to seem insensitive, to the fact that you're asking us for advice. As you can understand, you're an attorney. We're very limited to the advice that, because we speak on behalf of the department, we're very limited to, what we can and can't suggest to you. But with that, board, what say you?
Chairman, I motion to deny the appellant's request for relief from the plumbing code sections 403.1 and P-1101.2.
Mr. Chairman, I second that.
All right, there's a motion on the floor, and seconded. We will proceed to vote. To concur with the motion to deny both appeal requests. Mike Bellata,
Yes, deny.
Dave Hoffmeister,
Deny.
Mike Ingram,
Deny.
Brian Gilbert,
Deny.
Patrick McDonald,
Deny.
Sarah Poindexter,
Deny.
and the chair also votes to deny. Gentlemen, as you heard, your appeal has been denied. The board would like to make a suggestion to you. You've discussed a couple different options with the board that, as we said, we're not in a position to either, tell you they're a good idea or a bad idea, but you might want to consider actually consulting with an engineer and a designer and making them suggestions in the way of a preliminary review to the department. And then at that point, perhaps you'll find your way back to us for that. As the letter of the code, remain within the spirit of the code. That's basically the reason that you were denied today. Do you have any questions? Can we offer any clarifications to you? You do have options of appeal. You can appeal our option to the Board of Building Standards. You can also appeal our options directly in the court of law. So we just wanted to let you know you do have options for appeal as well.
Well, thank you very much. Just a question for you or counsel.
Sure.
How soon will we get a written decision and, to move on from there? I'm just, this is my first time before the PAB. So I'm just curious.
Not a problem. We usually the staff usually likes to get decisions out, within a week or so.
Okay.
My suggestion to you, if you do not hear anything official, within a week or so, please contact Phil by email.
Okay.
All right.
To the board and, and specifically the chair, we thank you for your time, your consideration, and, it's not easy. It's a unique property, and it has its challenges. So, but we appreciate your time.
And trust me, Mr. Ward, we understand that, and we discussed this in depth, and
I could tell. I thought I was on a jury trial, and
we understand the nature of the appeal. We're all industry folks here, and
Yeah.
We all want to see commerce expand within the city, but there's certain parameters as you understand as well.
yeah, we were starting to wonder where you went for lunch because.
Well, again, thank you. We appreciate it.
All right, folks, have a great afternoon, and thank you very much.
Thanks.
right.
Mr. Kelly, we are now off record. Phil, you spend